So we continue with our 2022 revision. In my previous video, I ended on question number 28. So let's finish up 29 to 40. It says, which of the method of seed or fruit dispersal carries the seeds the shortest distance? So the shortest: animals, self, water, and wind. Yeah, definitely that is self, dispersal. Then it says the diagram shows the female reproductive system and its associated structures. Are you able to label the parts that are there? Yeah, so that is basically D. I think that represents the vagina. Then that is what we call as being the uterus, sometimes called as being the womb. And that is representing the ovary. Then that is representing the fallopian tube, which is sometimes called as being the oviduct. It says which labeled part identifies where implantation occurs. So implantation occurs in the uterus or the womb, and that is C. Then 31 says which of the following is not a cause of infertility in human beings? Remember in my paper 2 that I discussed, there was this question. So which one is not a cause of infertility? So there's alcoholism, blocked oviduct, ovulation disorder, then poor nutrition. Of course, alcoholism, blocked oviduct, ovulation disorder, all these are causes of infertility, but poor nutrition is not a cause. We might actually cite that one. So that is what would have actually talked about there. Okay, let's look at question number. Let's look at that question number 32 and see how we can actually go about it. So question number 32 there says which method of birth control affects the normal functioning of hormones? Which affects the normal functioning of hormones? So the ones that affect the normal functioning of hormones are those that are using hormones or chemicals, and these are contraceptive pills. But these ones, the condom, the IUD, intrauterine device or tubal ligation, no, they don't. Which stages of mitosis is illustrated? So you can see they have already pulled away and it wants to cut there. This is what we call, so you need to remember, International Prime Minister arrested and tortured. This is what we call as being interphase, but this is the stage where they also call it the resting stage. It is not considered to be a stage of mitosis, but these ones that we are talking about, they are, prophase, metaphase, then this one anaphase, and this one is what we call as being telophase. All these are considered as being stages of mitosis. So when they are pulled away and they are about to, then they are in the last stage called telo. That is what we call as being telophase. I hope it's making sense for you. Two individuals who had normal skin color had a child who was an albino. What is the probability that they will have another child who is an albino? So if they were normal skin, it simply means that they were carriers. If you noticed my other question for biology paper 2, if you go and check the 2024, you are going to find such a question that came in the final exam, question number 5. So if you quickly carry out a cross, there, it will be AA, a capital A, small a, capital A, small a, and AA. So there's only one child who is an albino. So it's 1 over the total number of children, which is 4. And 1 divided by 4 is 0.0. That would be 2, remainder 2. And that would be 5, 0.25. So A was actually the best option. Then 35 says, which of the following list of organisms consists of only vertebrates? Vertebrates are those with a backbone. And if you look at it, birds, reptiles, fish, and mammals, this actually qualifies to be that. Then 36 is under soil. It says an experiment was carried out to investigate the drainage of 3 different types of soil samples, X, Y, and Z. Some amount of each type of soil was placed in the funnel and some volume of water was poured into the funnel. The experiment was allowed to stand for an hour. The diagram shows the result. Now from this diagram, what you just need to know is that when it comes to to such a diagram, you need to understand. Just a moment, it seems like my gadget, the battery seems to be low, so just a moment so that I can power it on. Right. Okay, so I'll try to push my diagram so that you are simply able to to see there. Right, so you can actually get to know this. You are going to find that normally the type of soil: clay, loam and sand. Water, the drainage for water is very low. Water will actually the drainage is high. I can say water will pass through sand very quickly. So if you compare the volumes, you just needed to compare the volume. You have got a high water level here after an hour. This indicates that this should be sand. If the one with the smallest water drainage is actually clay soil, and the other one is actually what we call as being loam soil. So X, if you go to the diagram there, X should have actually been loam soil, and Y should have actually been sand, then Z should have actually been clay soil. So C was actually the best option for this diagram that we have there. So B was actually the best option. Then it says the figure shows the food web. Let me just try to do that. So it says the figure shows a food web in a given ecosystem. How many herbivores are there in this food chain? So they want to know how many herbivores are there. Remember, herbivores are animals that feed on just vegetables. So those that are feeding just on vegetables have got grasshopper feeding on cabbage, rabbit feeding on cabbage. You cannot consider a human to be a herbivore because they also feed on rabbit. So there are how many? There are just 2. Then the following are factors that cause a change in human population, except which one does not cause. That's what the question is telling you. Diseases, earthquake and immigration, all these are simply causes of changes in a population, but the number of species does not affect that. Hopefully you got that. Then 39, the diagram shows the carbon cycle. That's what they tell you. Which of the labeled processes removes carbon from the atmosphere? So remember, in the carbon cycle, the only process that removes carbon from the atmosphere is a process that we call as being photosynthesis. No wonder we encourage to plant a lot of trees, and that's the one carried out by plants, which is A. What is the negative effect of overuse of fertilizer in a farmland near a stream? So if it is near a stream and you overuse fertilizer, you are going to create a lot of weeds. The fertilizer, when it runs into the lakes or rivers, is going to cause a boost of plants that are going to start growing on the surface, and that's what we call as being eutrophication. So eutrophication is actually was the correct option there. Thank you so much. Watch out my other question papers as we try to revise, and please check paper 2 questions and see how you can go about that. It will help you to revise quickly. Appreciate. Subscribe if you love what I do.